Hey, random people out there on the internet. So I've been a little derelict in duties. I haven't posted a video of my projects in the last few days. I came to what I like to call a creator's block, trying to make decisions. You know, I've said in other videos, I try to make everything I do one of a kind. And my current project, Birdhouse II, came to an impasse where I was trying to make a decision. When I was cutting the material, and you may recall if you've seen the other videos, I made these panels out of strips of mesquite I had left over from the shelf I built in one of the other videos, and I decided to glue them together and make a birdhouse for my daughter. But as I was doing it, it started to look a lot like the birdhouse I just did in the first set of videos about a birdhouse. So this one I decided to do a little bit different. And you can see that instead of being a typical roof, I went ahead and I made one side that's going to be really long, one side that'll be short, and then the hole for the birds will be right in here somewhere. In any event, this is going to be a cut where I need to cut two of them at 45 degrees. There are a number of ways to do it, but I've decided I'm going to use my miter saw. So this is my miter saw. Before we get started, I will show you what I'm doing. First of all, let's talk about the miter saw a little bit. In other videos I explained that you can take and tilt your miter saw left and right to about 45 degrees or so. You can take and make angle cuts by swiveling, which I've done here to 45 degrees, which is marked here. And then, go ahead and tighten the handle down, we're good to go. You may see here that I don't have a slot. What we have here, this is called zero clearance tape. And what will happen is the first pass I make through here will cut a single line straight down there. And the reason for it is that when you use when you use zero clearance, you get a much cleaner cut on the bottom of the wood. To understand that, we need to take a quick look at how this miter saw actually works. Now, if you people have been around for a while, you can just go ahead and skip forward because you probably know all this. But in any event, this is the saw blade, and you'll see that it's got a lot of teeth. If you're doing cross cuts, you want a lot of teeth. This is an 82 CMT orange blade, which is a fairly high quality blade. When it spins in this direction. So it grabs the wood and pushes it towards your fence so that you don't have the wood pushing out at you. Now, when you engage it and you start to cut through wood, as these teeth break through the backside, it causes what they call tear out, which means that you'll have just little bitty shivers and splinters and slivers of wood that may be poking out and look kind of rough. Gives you a rough cut on the backside. But with the zero clearance, it doesn't have the opportunity to make the splinters that you would normally see. So I'm going to be cutting this way first. And always remember that you want to make a decision as to how you're going to proceed before you actually do it. It's a good idea to make a little mock-up of what you're doing before you actually do it so that you know that you're doing what you need to do. Another thing to consider is that when you go to cut with any saw, this is my line. If I want this piece of wood is exactly the size of that line, I need to remember that my blade needs to be on the side of the line like this. Now, if the blade was right in the middle of the line, like that, both pieces would be shorter than you anticipate. So remember which side you're keeping, and bring your saw down and line that up so that it's on the side away from the keeper, okay? Now, another thing to know about miter saws, particularly compound miter saws, is something they call deflection. You may have heard this term. Deflection is when the saw kind of moves back and forth. And if you look really close as I have it extended, you'll see that I can move the saw back and forth, side to side, instead of just moving it straight through the cut. All right? So as you make a miter cut or an angled cut, you want to make sure that you're pushing down and away, but don't hold it so tight that you push it left to right. So we're going to line that back up. We're going to make this first cut. Another thing I almost forgot to say, whenever you're doing something like this on a miter saw, you need good support on both sides of your fence. So when I cut this off, I'll be able to turn it this way and cut it again. if I cut this side first and go to turn this, it won't be as stable. So anyway, that is what it is. We're going to do one cut. We'll take a break, and I'm going to show you the planning for the next stage of this particular project. All right. We'll take a break, and we'll come back in just a minute. So we're back, and I made those cuts. Now you can see the general shape of the birdhouse when it's up like this. And you notice I tape both pieces together. If you'll remember to do that when you're cutting identical pieces, they'll come out identical. If you measure every single piece, there's an opportunity that it won't go the way you think it did. And you'll end up with one piece that's just slightly shorter than the other. But if you tape them together ahead of time, they're going to be the same exactly. We'll take all this off. And this is the front and the back. Cut and ready to go. All right, so what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to go ahead and start planning the bottom and the roof. Okay, I have two other pieces here that I've already cut that are the same length as this, so I think that when we do this, it's going to be like this. And we'll put this little dude in between, like that, for the bottom of the birdhouse. And now I'll cut a couple more pieces that will be here and here for the sides. For the roof, I want to take and with the same process, I want them to go like this time. And then I'll cut a tiny little strip that's going to go here in the middle to serve as the ridge. You'll see all that in upcoming videos, but for now, I think that we're there. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your comments. I really appreciate it when you share my videos with other people and when you subscribe to my channel. But as always, the most important thing is please be safe.